let's start with a big question. Why is there life on Earth? Well, at the fundamental level, it is quite simple. Sunlight. Now, I know that we need a protected atmosphere and liquid water, etc., etc., but the sun provides the input of energy, which is needed to start the synthesis of biomass. So, what does synthesis of biomass actually mean? Well, synthesis means making of, and biomass means all material that plants and animals are made of. The very first bit of biomass in a food chain is a molecule of glucose, and it is made inside a plant by the process of photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is driven by the energy provided when sunlight is absorbed. Glucose can later be turned into other molecules useful within the plant for growth or metabolic reactions. Plants are not the only organisms that can make biomass using sunlight. Some algae can also perform photosynthesis. We call these types of organisms producers, as they produce the biomass which forms the basis of food chains and webs for all life on Earth. But the energy in the biomass of a plant does not all stay in the plant. Often it is eaten by another organism, and that organism is in turn eaten by something else, and so on. This chain of eating and being eaten is called a food chain. And we can draw them by writing the names of the organisms involved next to each other, and then by joining them by arrows. I will draw you an example food chain to represent the feeding relationships shown in this image on the left. The producer in this chain is the tree in the centre, so I will write tree as the first organism in the food chain. The tree is eaten by the frog, so the frog gets some of the energy from the tree's biomass as it eats it. We therefore draw an arrow going towards the frog to show that the frog is getting energy. We call the frog a primary consumer, as it is the first organism in the food chain that eats another one. If the frog only eats plant material, as many primary consumers do, we can also call it a herbivore. The frog is then eaten by the fish, so we draw another arrow going towards the fish. The fish is the second organism that eats another one in the food chain, so we call it the secondary consumer. In turn, the fish is eaten by the seal, so we draw another arrow going to the seal. The seal is the third organism that eats another one in this food chain, so we call it the tertiary consumer. Many food chains stop here and only have 4 levels. However, the image on the right has a 5th level, as the polar bear eats the seal. So, we have to add another organism with another arrow. The polar bear would be referred to as the quaternary consumer. Consumers that only eat meat are given the term carnivore. And animals at the end of food chains can also be called top carnivores, as they have no natural predators. Consumers that can eat food from animal and plant sources can be called omnivores. Any consumer in the chain that has to catch and eat another animal can also be called a predator, and the animal that is caught and eaten is called the prey. I will go into the predator-prey relationship in more detail in another video. Going back to the food chain, there's one more term you should be aware of, and this is trophic level. A trophic level is a feeding level within a food chain. So, the tree is in trophic level 1, the frog is in trophic level 2, the fish, trophic level 3, the seal, trophic level 4, and the polar bear, trophic level 5. The final kind of feeding relationship in an ecosystem is that used by the microorganisms, the bacteria and fungi. These organisms are so small and simple that they do not have internal digestive systems. A bacterium is just a single cell, and most fungi are just strings of cells joined together. These organisms use a process called external digestion. In external digestion, they secrete enzymes out into the environment, allow digestion to occur, and then absorb the products back inside themselves. By doing so, these microorganisms perform a vital role in the ecosystem. They decompose dead plant and animal material and waste products, thus cleaning the environment up and helping to recycle nutrients.